Hi guys, Erin here from Her Property Co. I am doing a video today for you on selling your own property. So that is probably something that seems a bit strange coming from a real estate agent, but it is something that I have seen on Facebook groups lately, just about people asking, has anybody else sold their own properties before and what is the process involved? Now, it is something that I have seen not so much lately, but over the past couple of years during the kind of heat of the market, when people have been selling their own homes. Now, is it something that I would recommend? Well, I wouldn't recommend it, but it can definitely be done, and it depends on the type of market. So previously, when we were in the heat of the market, and basically houses were just selling themselves, and people would they knew that. They thought there's probably no point in having a real estate agent. Why, when I can do it myself? I agree to a certain extent. It can definitely be done, but only during that time. In a market that we are seeing now where it is cooling and where it is a buyer's market, and that is that there are less, it's got to do with supply and demand. So we are seeing less buyers on the market, but we've still got a high demand, a high number of properties for sale. So what's happening is, due to different kind of circumstances such as hikes in interest rates, or like an oversupply of new housing, which we've definitely seen in Sydney over the past couple of years, what goes up must come down. So people are more hesitant to buy, or they have just restrictions due to lending through the banks and financial institutions. So what we are seeing are properties that are on the market. We still have a supply of properties, but a lower demand through the buyers. So this is where, if you were trying to sell your own property, you could run in a bit of trouble. Previously, during when it was a seller's market, there were not as many sellers but more buyers. So people would turn up to open homes, and I mean people would go to every open home because the thought of the fear of missing out. People wanted something. They thought there'd be no properties left, and people do freak out a little bit in those kind of circumstances, and with the price of properties keep rising, people think I've got to buy something before the prices rise. So that is a seller's market when it's to the advantage of the seller, and the seller, obviously there's lots of buyers to one property. The buyers are competing against each other, so that's when we see prices go up and up and up. So in those, I actually went to, a few years ago, before I was an agent, at kind of the beginning of the boom, I went to a few properties that were actually being sold by the homeowners. And I mean, this wasn't anything different to the house next door that was being sold by the real estate agent. All that was happening was that the mum and dad were answering people's inquiries. So in that regard, it wasn't too different. Because I followed those properties closely, all of those properties sold. They weren't on the market very long, and one had even sold, I think, 40 or 50,000 above asking price as well. And that's just due to buyer demand, and like I said earlier, lots of buyers there and people competing against each other for the price, and generally the person who offers the most gets the property. So in comparison to now, where we are seeing less buyers, it's not something that I would recommend. It's pretty evident when you look on realestate.com, because those houses or those properties are on the very last pages. They're the very last, the very last listings, and you can tell because the photos are taken just by a normal phone. They're not professional photography. So in a market where there's not as many buyers, and people aren't, you know, they're very selective with what they're going to view. Those ones, and especially being on the very last listing, it could be 4 pages deep on realestate.com. It's not likely that they would even get to view the property in the first place. And obviously, when I did a previous video on this, but when the properties are on the very last page, when they're not the premier or premium listings, people think, what's wrong with the property? It's been on the market a while now, and that's just something that you don't want to get wrong. And a lot of the time, so I have a few recommendations. So if you've listened to this or read the blog and you still think you want to give a crack at selling your own property, there's a couple of recommendations from me. And the first thing would be to get professional photography. So at the very least, make the property look like it is similar to the other properties online. You want it to blend in and look like it's listed as a real estate agent. The next thing is to get professional styling. Don't leave this to yourself. They're professionals for a reason, and that is because they know what the market wants. So it's a lot of the times it's different to what your personal style would be. And they also know to take what furniture to take out and what furniture to put in to make the room appear bigger than it actually is. The next thing that I would suggest is to do your research and get the price right from the beginning. I also did another video on this, so I can put the links in for that as well. But getting this wrong can be detrimental, and a lot of the times, unfortunately, when people are selling their own properties, everybody wants the most they can get, the highest price that they can get for their property. It's not often realistic, and that's why enlisting a good real estate agent is critical, because they understand the market. They know what people will pay. You could have the best photography, you could have the best styling, but at the end of the day, if you get the price wrong and you have overestimated it by $50,000-$100,000, especially in this market, you will not sell it. And that is detrimental. So, and the last thing is one of the main, most important reasons you hire a real estate agent is due to the negotiating that they do on your behalf. Real estate agents most of them are master negotiators. And so this is often the case when if you don't have somebody that can negotiate for you, you could lose thousands of dollars. It's a pretty tricky one, because it's not something that you could give advice on and train people how to be negotiators, but knowing your asking price, obviously that it's realistic, knowing your walk away price, so the lowest price that you will take for your property, and trying to not get too emotionally attached in that, even though it would be very hard, but knowing the lowest price that you would sell for, but then still being realistic as well, and not having the expectation to get more than the value of the house. So that just comes down to knowing the value of the property again. And obviously it's important to, when choosing one of the like Buy My Place, like the companies that you can enlist through their company to sell your house, you do all the work, but they can put it on realestate.com.au for you. Choosing a company that allows you to have the premium or premier advertisement, which I've talked about, and the importance of having that as well. So definitely do your research. Like I said earlier, it's not something that I would recommend, especially in this market. Maybe if it was a seller's market, which is the peak of the market, but we've obviously had that over the past couple of years, and that is not the situation now. So I'd be definitely interested to hear if anybody has sold their own property before, or somebody who is looking to sell their own property. Leave me a comment below, and as always, if you have any questions, I will get back to you. Thank you.